Well, that's a very interesting question because of the fact that just me personally, I don't consider jazz to be a style of music. I consider it to be my heritage. I learned it from my elders, and it's a purely unique and great take on my culture as a black man in the United States. So, in trying to get my culture to many, many people, that has happened. But also, my music now is accepted all over the world, and everybody claims to be jazz is part of their music. So it's an interesting take. I think that the jazz culture has been created because my music has gone to so many different parts of the world. And there is a culture now that is considered to be a jazz culture. Well, I think the internet has influenced everything. And yes, there have been major influences with the internet and how all different kinds of musics have been perceived. And I think it has changed. There's been more exposure. And I also think that to a certain degree, it's cool because you can actually get to have in-depth information from masters that you couldn't have before. So I think it's kind of a positive thing. It's helped. All musicians that have studied how to play music are good musicians because of the fact that they have studied and they've learned how to play music. There's another perspective of that, and that's there are musicians that learn how to create music, which is totally different than playing music. There are examples of great musicians who don't read, and how they learned to play this music is they learn how to create it first, and then after playing it and putting themselves in situations that help nurture their playing, they found how to play. So it's a touchy subject when you say what's better. I'm not trying to say what is better. The fact that someone learns how to create music or someone learns how to play music over a period of time. I think what you'd have to do is you'd have to take people that learn how to create it and then take the person who learned how to play it and listen to them and weigh it out. The very first time I got a new opportunity to record, Miles Davis took me into the studio. He didn't give me any music. What he said to me was, think of this as a big pot of stew, and I want you to be salt. What musical knowledge am I going to call upon to sound like salt? So I had to create something from a musical perspective of what he asked. But I didn't have any musical knowledge about that. You know? So it was interesting for me to try to do that, to try to create knowing what it is that I know and not knowing any musical way to describe it or to play it. I think that it is very, very important for a young musician to have a mentor. I think somewhat unfortunately, what mentors are now are schools. Schools have taken the place of mentors. But it's not sometimes easy to acquire a mentor because there could be someone that you really want to study with and they could be not approachable. But if you really want to study, you persist. You go, you try to seek that person out. And because you know that that's where the source of your knowledge lies, is within that person. You need to find that person and pursue that person to make it happen. So if it's not that accessible, that shouldn't stop you. You have to continue to do that. Oh, please. I don't have all the answers to anything. And I think the journey of life is constantly asking questions, because knowledge is not something that you get to the end, you acquire, and that's it. It's finite. It's not like that at all. It's an ongoing process. The more knowledge you gain, the better problem solver you become. And you can gain knowledge in certain things that will help you in other things. So if I ask a question about music and I acquire that knowledge, that might give me a better life situation. Then I ask something about life and it gives me a better musical way. So you don't ever stop asking questions. I learned a very important lesson the first time I played with him, because Miles didn't give us a direction. When we did Bitches Brew, he didn't give us a direction. He hinted at things. And so we were playing Miles Runs the Voodoo Down. And I was playing what I thought Miles wanted. And that wasn't what he wanted. And so somebody else played. And after the session, I was kind of despondent. I was kind of down. And he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well, you asked me to do this and that." He said, no, don't worry about that. It's fine. Be here tomorrow and we'll do something new. And what I learned is I should have asked him exactly what he wanted. And if I had asked him what he wanted and he told me, then I would be able to, at least to whatever ability I could, I'd be able to give him what he asked for. But you always need to ask what's needed and wanted. Well, I mean, you got to understand that in 1969, when we did Bitch, it's going to be 50 years in 2 months. That's 50 years ago. It changed the whole musical landscape. And from doing that record, there were bands that started a whole new musical movement, which was jazz rock. Mahavishnu Orchestra, Return to Forever, Weather Report, Tony Williams' Lifetime, Headhunters. So that started a whole new musical movement. And then when I got an opportunity to play in Return to Forever, that changed also. And that became sorry about that. That became a life-changing experience also, because I found out so much more about myself. It gave me the opportunity to really deep inside find out who I was and how I needed to approach my musical and my life. New contemporary.
Yeah,
But
more than one.
I listen to everything. Quite honestly, I listen to all kinds of music. I listen to music for me that has purpose, and it can be any kind of music. It could be music from the past and music that I haven't heard yet. But what I recognize and what's very interesting for me is purpose. If the music that I listen to has purpose, I'm into it. But I just don't listen to things just to listen to them. I think for me, it has to have purpose, and it needs to have some kind of depth. And I can find depth in hip hop, country music, classical music, jazz, rock, anything. So that's why I listen to all kinds of musics, because of the nature of trying to find the depth in the music. I wanted to play trumpet.
Ah, right.
Yeah, I wanted to play trumpet. Um, but there's so much for me to learn about playing the drums. I don't know if I could take
Still.
on another. I don't know if I could take on another. I mean, piano, from the standpoint of understanding how to harmonize music and make it work, not just from a rhythmic perspective, but also from a harmonic perspective too. But I'm still learning drums. I don't know if it's attainable. Quite honestly, I think that perfect happiness is fleeting. I think that it's a dynamic. It's something that happens, and then you have to attain it again. It's not something that you grasp and that's it. I think it's fleeting. It's something that it's like water. You can get water and it stays in your hands for a minute, and then it's gone. It dissipates. I think perfect happiness is hard to actually attain. But happiness is like grabbing a bunch of water. You can hold it for a while, and then you have to grab. You have to go for it again. All music is a guilty pleasure for me. Yeah, there's nothing that I would listen to that I'd say, shh, don't tell anybody I'm listening. No, there's nothing like that for me. I get inspired, I get inspired by something that has purpose and depth in it, and it can be anything.